Welcome to the second quarter of Financial Foundations, our quarterly webinar to help our churches build on their financial foundation, I guess. So I'm Jeff Pospisil, the Executive Director of Finance for the Dakotas Conference.
And I'm Sheri Meister. I'm the Director of the Dakotas United Methodist Foundation.
And this quarter, what we want to do is talk about the whys and hows of electronic giving. One of the things I've worked with electronic giving now since 2006, so that's been about 13 years. So I've seen it all from where you sign up on paper to where you put it on the website, to text giving, to mobile giving, to swiping your card. And both Sheri and I have actually visited many churches, and we've seen how a lot of churches have done it, and we've seen the good and the bad. So
you can see that you're getting older, Jeff, if you've gone through all of those.
I know.
But it also tells that things are changing rapidly, and so to be able to keep up with that and keep up with the options and opportunities is mainly why we're having this webinar today.
Yep, exactly.
Why do churches, why should they offer electronic giving? And it's really to make the giving more accessible and to have the options available for anyone who is sitting in the pew, or if they are away for the day, you can give when it's electronic giving, you can give anywhere you are.
And we start at the why, because if you don't understand that piece, it's going to be hard to convince people to take that step. So if you don't start at the why, you immediately jump to the how, and people will say, why do I care?
And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the different reasons and the whys as we go through our presentation. But one of the reasons is it's a way to help develop and strengthen discipleship.
Yeah. So we're going to count down from number 4, and this goes along what Sheri's first point was on raising money for ministry, that making it easier to access. I found this Federal Reserve study some time ago, and it had a couple of great charts in here. And the first one shows so the number 4 reason is checks and cash usage is continuing to decline. And this whole graph shows the number of transactions by type. And there's that solid greenish blue line that's heading up and to the right. That is debit card usage. And you can see that took off from just 15, I guess it's 19 years ago, was very low. And now it's by far and away the most preferred way to transact business. And then you can see there's that dotted one with the small dot and the large dash. That's checks, and you see that one just going in the exact opposite direction. And even just from my own experience, in the year 2000, I was a college kid. I never left to go to town without my checkbook or at least some cash. I mean, that's the way it was. And now I almost never bring my checkbook out unless I am forced to.
Well, and I think it also is a sign of the times. If our kids, our daughters who are in their 30s, in their 20s, they receive a check and it's automatically put in the bank right from where they're standing. Yeah. They don't even go to the bank anymore. They don't see a teller. It's all electronic.
And McDonald's doesn't take checks anymore.
Right.
I mean, and so the other thing you see also on the rise, credit cards, and then that black dashed one is ACH, which is your bank-to-bank transfers. So where they take the money right from your bank account and put it right into the vendor's account. So this is a little different. This is the value of those transactions. So the total dollar amount. You would think that with the number of transactions for prepaid being so low or so high that we'd see that being a large amount. But actually the 1% and 2% is actually the prepaid, or the debit cards and the credit cards. So, but in 2003, 61% of every dollar in a transaction was by check, which is huge. And the other 36%, ACH, or that bank-to-bank transfer. And this was one that blew my mind. This is almost one of my favorite graphs in the last couple of years that I've run across. 82% in 2015 was the bank-to-bank ACH transfer. 15% was checks, and debit card and credit card are still 1 to 2%. They're just small. I mean, they're your McDonald's. They're your buying a soda. I mean, I used to write checks for sodas back in the day. Now, but not anymore.
I bet you weren't charged for your check.
You weren't charged.
At that time,
you got them back in your bank statement. Right. You got the anyway. But it just shows you now ACH. It used to be that most of your transactions, period, but also most of your most important transactions used to be check. That used to be you got a coupon book whenever you had a loan or a mortgage, and you paid a check with a coupon every single time. And now that all happens electronically. Right. I mean, I don't even know if you can get a coupon book anymore. But anyway.
And and when you look at this graph, you see that that's just in 12 years. So think of how fast things are moving and what the next 3, 5, 10 years are going to be with electronics and with technology today.
Yeah, I don't think this is just a temporary decline of the check.
No. We'll be saying, what checks someday? And then the number three reason is people can give even when the church isn't open. And, if you see this picture, many of us across the Dakotas probably saw similar pictures as this or of this in our churches throughout this winter months. I think we heard that 7 weeks in a row in North Dakota, church was either canceled or they were looking for other ways, video ways and things to connect with the congregation because they weren't able to open the church. And so even when the church isn't open, people who are giving online and who have automatic deposits or automatic withdrawals, they are even giving when they're not in the church. And so it makes the budgeting and the operation so much easier when it's consistent.
And I've been on a lot of finance committees, and one of our biggest gripes was people would miss a week and then they wouldn't make it up. Well, when church was closed for that 1 week, was your next offering double? I would bet not. I would bet it might be a little bit larger than normal, but not double. So, and just why wouldn't you want to allow people to give 24/7 versus one day, 1 hour, once a week?
Well, and I think the other piece of this is, aside from the weather, that church attendance is going down too. It used to be the norm for people to miss one Sunday a month, and it's becoming the norm for people to attend one Sunday a month.
Yeah.
And while they're not attending and they're at the lake or they're on vacation, they decided to take an entire Sabbath on Sundays, whatever the reason. If it is through ACH and electronic giving, they're still giving. And then it doesn't feel as much for every individual as it's a membership or a attendance fee.
Attendance fee. Now we're going to shift to Sheri's second point on why people give. But number 2 reason, it promotes and enables consistent giving. This quote by Tony Robbins, it's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives, it's what we do consistently. I mean, you think about exercise. I can exercise, the first day of every month, and it's not going to make a difference. It might make a small difference. It'll make me feel guilty. But if I exercise that, 3-4 days a week, I'm going to see results. Same thing spiritually. When we read our Bible in a regular manner, if we pray regularly, if we go to church regularly, and if we give regularly, it shapes who we are. So that's an important piece. But also this does tie in financially. I found it's hard to find trustworthy polling results on electronic giving. I use this one from PushPay. But I know they also want to prove that they're the way to go. So, but this is also stuff I've seen personally over my 13-some years of working with electronic giving, is that on average, people do give a little bit less per donation. So while they might give, let's just say, $50 a week cutting a check, or $50 every check they cut, they might only give $40 through their electronic giving. But here's the kicker. They donate 44% more times. So just exactly what Sheri said. You know, it went from where people that cut a check or they give in cash, they only give when they show up. But if you give electronically, you can give no matter what. You can keep your financial commitment even if you can't be physically present for whatever reason. And so if you do the math, that means that the person that gives electronically gives on average 33% more. So that's a big difference. So it's both the discipleship side as well as the financial side.
And then this is Jeff's slide. I just want to put that disclaimer out there that I didn't put this slide together, but people need to help grow into their faith and their discipleship. And I think many times Jeff and I talk about that, you know, Bible studies and the things we learned in Sunday school are all ways of discipleship, but also giving. And so this shows that what wasn't cute as a kid, or was cute as a kid, isn't necessarily so cute as an adult.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, these are really creepy, Jeff. But anyway, it's saying that a lot of those things that we did as kids are in place, but how do we grow in that faith and how do we build on that? And giving is part of that discipleship. And many times it's really tough for people to ask about giving and to talk about the giving. But to be able to talk about that just as enthusiastically as we talk about Bible studies and reading the Bible is very, very important.
Yeah. And it's one of those principles, too, that where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So if you can help people grow in their giving to the church, their heart will also move towards the church and the work of Jesus Christ. So I stole your line, I think.
Yeah. And now the how. How churches fail at rolling this out. You know, Jeff and I have been to a lot of churches, and we've seen the offering and missional giving and all of those things done very well, and we've seen it done not so well. And it's how you get behind this to roll it out, because you want electronic giving to be successful. So you need to be enthusiastic about it. You need to find people who are willing to be the leaders and get people out front and how it works. One of the things that I've noticed as more electronic presentations or churches or video conferencing and all of those things, streaming, that's the word I'm looking for.
Streaming, yeah.
As more streaming in all of that, you have to remember the audience, and you know, they are participating in your worship service just even if they're not within your building. And my husband Randy and I were watching a service a while back that during the ask for the offering and for the missional giving, the pastor started to fade as he was talking about it. And you could tell it was very uncomfortable for them. And if it is uncomfortable, that's not going to encourage the people in the pews to want to give. But if they're enthusiastic about it and they're showing how that is building their faith by giving and being supportive, that's going to carry on in the pews as well.
Yeah. So we got 5 reasons. The number 5 reasons on how churches fail at rolling this out is they hide the electronic giving from their website, or it's completely missing, or it's not at all in the pew either. It's almost like you need to know the secret knock or something, or usually there's a secret person. Oh, you wanted to give electronically. Well, why don't you talk to Irma or Bruce or whatever?
Irma or Bruce aren't there that Sunday.
I know. And how are you supposed to know as a new person? Anyway, but I brought up Clark, South Dakota's UMC's website because it's right there, right on front. If you wanted to say during your sermon, for those of you that give or want to give electronically, you can go to clarksdumc.org and click and give. So that's nice. And I know not all of our churches have websites, but the thing is, a lot of them do. They'll have a pledge card Sunday or some kind of a commitment Sunday, or they'll have envelopes in the back in their pews, and you can put one of those pledge cards or one of those envelopes in there. But on the back of it, go ahead and put the stuff to allow them to sign up right away for electronic giving if they want, because otherwise, if people don't know, there's a lot of us that don't bring a checkbook, and whatever cash we got, it's probably you're going to be limited to $20 is the gift you're going to give, and it's a $20 one-time gift. So anyway.
And then the number 4 reason is that leaders think it's a great idea for someone else. And this is perfect. I'm a leader, not a follower, unless it's a dark place when you're going first. People that are behind the electronic giving and the consistency of giving and tithing need to be out front doing this as well, and make sure that they can speak to it. And the leaders of your church just need to be able to say, hey, I'm giving electronically. If you're going to have somebody promote this, make sure that they're also using it.
Yeah. The number 3 reason why churches fail at rolling this out is they announce it once and then never again. You know, I was looking online. This is a picture of John Wesley, and I'm not sure this quote was actually said by him, but it sounds like something he might have said. I'm only going to say this once, but because I know you're Norwegians, I'm going to say it real slow. So, actually, it sounds like something our bishop might have said.
I thought you'd put in there because I know you're Lutheran.
I know.
Usually what you
I was trying to offend a new group of people.
You want to bring them all together on the offense.
So, yeah, next time I'll offend Catholics or somebody. Anyway, but so many churches I've talked to, they are disappointed about how few people joined electronic giving. And I go back to, well, how did you roll it out? Well, we announced it. You know, we put it in the bulletin once. Well, yeah, but people need to be reminded multiple times on a lot of these things. They need to be given time to think about it and be reminded of it and say it in a different way. So
just remember, you're going to get tired of the message before the people in the pews will, because it takes so many times for it to sink in. What is it, 7 times or something that you have to hear something before it actually registers? And
honestly, that'll be the truth. You'll say it X number of times, and you'll be thinking, they've got to be tired of hearing this. Well, somebody will come to you probably the next week and say something, man, I wish we could give electronically.
Right, exactly.
Oh, really?
Well, we can. You can go talk to Irma or Bruce about it.
Yeah.
Okay, and now the number 2 reason that it fails is that you're not thanking, or we're not thanking or recognizing electronic donors. It's kind of the, if you can't see it, it's not happening type of thing. And electronic donors, you know, all of that recording comes in a whole different way than it does of having the cash or the check in the plate. And so just to be mindful of the fact that that's just as important to recognize any of the givers that are doing this electronically too. And it's also a great opportunity for a testimony. Somebody who has increased their giving or feels like they are following in a different way of discipleship because of their consistent giving, those type of things. If they can speak to the other members of your church, that's a wonderful way to encourage others to also begin using it as well.
Because wouldn't that be awesome to say, one Sunday morning is a different way to announce it, say, you know, we've had 10 families sign up for electronic giving, and here's the Pospisil family, and we'd just like to hear from your experience how this has made a difference. And all of a sudden, you did a great advertisement, but you gave people some confidence that, hey, they're not alone. You're thanking people publicly for their courage to sign up and try this. Anyway, there's no downside to this, but a lot of times we just ignore it. And then, yeah, just always remember to thank people too.
And I think the other thing is so many of us think electronic, it's new, it's cutting edge, all of those things. It's for our younger generations, but it isn't. As soon as all generations figure out how convenient convenient it is, and how better they feel about doing that, and so that it's not a consistent reminder all the time.
Yeah.
You'll find that you have all ages signing up to do this.
And that's very true. Actually, that ties in with my number one. No, but not having a plan to invite and transition donors. And this wasn't in the notes necessarily, but it's what I was thinking about, is there are some people that you should do more of a personal invitation to. So those people that'll be the early adopters, there's people that give the same amount every week. So let's go ahead and talk to them. There's people that are big volunteers on Sunday morning. They don't have, I mean, it's hard for them to catch up to the offering plate. So let's ask them. There are people that are shut-ins that, you know, for them, it is a major effort to bring in a stack of checks. I remember I had some people that would come at the end of winter and they'd have like 12 or 13 checks that they wanted to bring. Well, why not allow them to do this, and then we can go visit them. They don't have to come out of guilt and hope they catch the pastor. Let's go ahead and visit them, thank them for their giving, and that way. But there's a way, so let's have a plan. Pick those, especially those easy ones. I mean, let's just think about how we're going to roll it out, and then there's going to be some more natural times to re-invite people. So those times where you have a pledge card or a commitment Sunday, there's going to be those times when you have a special offering that you could say, and if you didn't bring any cash or a checkbook, go to our website and you can make a donation that way, or whatever it happens to be. So.
And now the what. What to look for in a service provider. And I think this is many times where it stops. The language might not be as familiar with when you're looking, and you don't know what you're looking for. What do we look for, and what service best meets the needs of our church? And so to not get discouraged during that, and to know what questions to ask. And, you know, this is where Jeff and I and anyone in our offices can come in and help you as well, to at least give you a starting point of what you're looking for.
Because once you got that why and the how fixed in your mind, then the what will make a little bit more sense too. Because then you're thinking, okay, how are we going to help? Does this help us grow giving and disciple? Is this how we want to do it? So anyway, there's a lot of good stuff there. Number 5, what to look for is, what is the fee structure? This is kind of lower down on my list because guess what? It may feel like you're flushing money down the toilet like this is, but the fees are there. And honestly, you can go a cheap route, and you can go with a local bank or a credit union, but you're going to get less service. You're likely not going to allow access to your website. It's going to be a little bit more labor intensive. You kind of get what you pay for. And that's fine. But most of the other ones are, the fee structure is pretty similar. You are not going to, it is just going to cost. I mean, you're going to have the transactional cost, but then as we talked earlier, Sheri brought up, things are changing so rapidly, they need to actually charge a little extra so they can pay people to develop their next product. I mean, that's just a fact of life now. So.
Well, and I think, what is it, if you get one electronic giver, one more electronic givers than you expected, it pays for the fees in the year. Basically,
yeah. Yeah, that's been pretty much true, is that you sign up one family that was giving fairly regularly, and now if they are perfect regularity, they paid for all the fees.
Right.
So, yep.
And then the number 4 reason that of the how, are we on the how?
We're on the what to look for.
What's on the what for? Sorry about that, I got lost there for a minute. But will it allow for designated giving? And I think that's real important too, is that you can personalize the service to how it fits to your church. And so you don't want a cookie cutter service that will not adapt it, but you want one that will be able to use and be user-friendly for your church and speaks the language of your church. So if you have a general fund, of course, that's where most people start, but also a building fund or a missional giving fund or a children's ministries fund, music fund. There's different areas that you can have the monies designated to, and you want to make sure that the service provider allows that for you.
Yeah. And there's a number that, I remember that used to be one of the sticking points for me, is that a number of them wouldn't allow that. So then how do you find it out? Well, then you got to contact them. So then you just made a whole lot more work. You may have gotten the money, but you don't know how to treat it. Now this one is one of the more back-end ones. Number 3 thing to look for is how easy is it to administer. When I'm thinking of electronic giving, I don't want it to be just another thing for my overworked volunteers or staff people to do. I want it to either replace something that they're already doing, so it's about the same amount of work, or hopefully it makes their work easier, that they would cut it down. So I think a little bit about, does it connect with my accounting system? You know, this one might not be as big of a one, but it's one of those nice things. If it automatically put in the income and the designations into your accounting system, that would be nice. Probably the bigger one, though, for me is, does it connect to the donor system? I would love it if my donor records, I didn't have to go through all those different giving records, and I could just import a batch file, and it would just save me a bunch of work. So if it's somehow integrated with my donor system. And the one I'm starting to see more and more now is, will it communicate with my members? So can I, for example, push out my giving statements through my electronic giving service provider? That would be nice. That would save me a ton if I could do that. Will it send an automatic thank you? I mean, that saves me something. I mean, I still want to do every now and then a regular thank you, but if it thanked him automatically, bonus. So.
And then you want to make sure that your customer support is good, and you want to make sure that they're telling you on the upfront that what is actually happening when you sign on to the service company. And so you want to know the right questions to ask, and you want to hear it from someone else besides the salesperson wearing the plaid jacket and the red handkerchief, because they're in this for business too, and they want to sell their product. But the best way to find out if the customer support is good is to contact a church who's already using it. At a church that I worked with, they sold them a whole bag of goods that didn't necessarily adapt to the church or the situation in which the church was hoping they would. And so the fees to get it transferred over and that type of thing were way greater than what they had told them at the beginning. So just make sure Jeff will talk about it in a little bit, but there's many companies to look at, but you want it to make sure that it adapts well to your church and your needs.
Yeah. Sometimes that customer support is the difference, especially in a smaller church where you might not have a big tech, bunch of tech people. That's all the difference. So.
And then take it for a test drive. Make sure that you test the service before you send it out to the public or your congregation. You want to make sure that it's working well and that it gives you the information that you need once the donation is made, that it actually goes into your bank. That's another place that's important. And that if there's any response or anything that comes back from it, if it's a thank you or an acknowledgement, you want it to make sure that it reads right and that it's applicable to that fund that they're trying to donate to. We test drive our different resources here at the office all the time, and Diane Weller, she's our #1 test driver and gives $5 to $10 every time when someone has a new fund or if we have a new program or a project going on. So we just want to make sure we do that before we send it out to the general public.
Yeah, and it's a way of checking that salesperson, really. I mean, if they say this is how it works, well, I'm going to find a church and see how it works.
Right.
And $10, all of a sudden you know more of the truth than 10 hours with the salesperson.
Right, exactly.
So what I wanted to do here is just give you some of the service providers that I've seen and worked with, and just a way to give you a head start on some of them. I've worked with Vanco for since 2006, I guess. They have a longtime United Methodist relationship. Their fees are similar to most other fees. They're competitive, but not great. You know, their products are good, not cutting edge, but their implementation, since they have this relationship, it's easy, very easy to implement. I've had people with absolutely no tech experience just marvel at how quick and easy it was. So that's probably where they, in order to get it on your website or get it started, they are one of the top ones that I've seen. The next one that I'm seeing more and more of is PushPay. PushPay is a little bit more cutting edge. Partially how they do that is they have higher upfront costs. There's a much larger fee, but the neat thing is that they will return that fee if your church doesn't grow by 6%. It's either return or give you it free for the next year, something like that. But either way, they waive that fee somehow if your church doesn't grow in giving by 6%. Probably where they get set apart is, I said, a little bit technologically, they are up there quite a bit. They do an app for your church, but also their plan for how to roll it out and invite people in there, they really are on top of things. Actually, that's a lot of the stuff we mentioned in the how is addressed by them. So they're going to get, because they want to grow your giving, that's why they spend so much time there, because they want to keep that fee.
Right.
The next one I've seen, not too many, I've seen, I think maybe 3 or 4 churches in the Dakotas use Share Faith. What sets them apart, though, I don't know anything about their fees, to be honest, or anything like that. But they have a website. They will help you with your website. So if you if you want to do a new website, their websites, from what I hear, are easy to handle and manage. But also they have the giving component that builds right in there, so it looks very natural. So one of these might be so Vanco. You can check with. Sioux Falls Asbury, for example. PushPay, you can check with Sioux Falls First. Share Faith, you can check with probably Aberdeen First or Williston Faith. So just those are good ones to check. And then there's the other category. If you have Church Community Builder for your donor or your member management, they got a giving module that you can put in there. So I mean, I would just turn that on somehow, see what it costs. But the other ones, you know, Tithely, Simple Donation, PayPal, and Stripe, you know, I see them. I don't see them a lot, but I mean, there's just a bunch of these ones that are very similar, and yeah, they're fine.
Well, and I think that all of it is about convenience. I've told Jeff this story, but there was something that I was going to make a donation to, and you want it simple. And had they had PayPal, they would have gotten a $25 donation,
Yeah.
But they didn't, and I wasn't at a place I could fill out all the information and attach my credit card and that type of thing. So PayPal, he thinks is outdated. I think that it's not. And so, so it's just the convenience. That's the whole piece of it. Yeah.
You know, and it wouldn't hurt to visit with people in your congregation, maybe a mix of because there might be, I mean, let's just say that you got a PayPal group. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to even have 2 different ways to give electronically, because I don't think PayPal costs much, period. So why not allow that, you know? And then maybe you do something else for, I don't know. But either way, it doesn't hurt to ask and get some feedback on that. So. You know, and lastly, I just want to remind you guys that you can contact us anytime. We have a number of resources on our website, dakotasumc.org or dakotasumf.org, as well as recordings of our past webinars and any resources there. And we enjoy working with our churches, and we're hoping to help you guys build a strong financial foundation.
Thank you, everyone.